Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2022 Ford Transit T250 van, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Curt 4-pole trailer wiring harness. Adding a 4-pole trailer wiring harness to your van is going to allow you to pull trailers with 4 poles on them. This wiring is going to give you your stop and turn signals, your running lights, and then the 4th pole is going to be your ground signal. If you need to pull trailers with 7 poles on them, then you can pick up the ETBC7 kit. You'll still have to install this kit because the 4-pole will plug right into the ETBC7, and then you'll just have to run the last 3 wires, which would complete your 7-pole in addition to your 4-pole. Now the way that this kit's going to install is it will tap into the back of your taillights, but you don't have to splice into any wires. It'll have a T-connector that will you'll just have to unplug your taillights, plug this harness in, and plug the harness back into your taillights. You will have to run 1 power wire up to the front of the vehicle. It's not too difficult. The undersides of these vans are really wide open, so you can run that wire pretty easily. And it sits high enough off the ground that you can do most of this work without even having a lift. The kit is going to have a converter box that's run in line with it, and what that's designed to do is it's designed to protect the wiring on your vehicle and the wiring on your trailer. So if there's any backfeed or any false signals, that the trailer's not going to hurt the wiring on your vehicle and vice versa. Now as far as the installation goes, this is a pretty easy installation. You'll have to use some self-tapping bolts and some existing holes in the frame. You don't have to make any modifications to the vehicle other than just taking your tow loop off. After all, you won't need that pull point anymore. You can use your hitch receiver if you ever need to get out of a bind. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the installation. To begin our installation, we'll take a T25 Torx bit to remove the 2 screws that are holding our taillight in place. We're going to do this to both taillights. Now in order to remove our taillights, we're going to have to pull outward on them. Sometimes it helps to use a trim panel tool with this because there's these little fasteners back behind here that are holding it in place. There we go. You can see those 2 little fasteners there. Just get that trim panel tool. If you don't have a trim panel tool, sometimes you can use a screwdriver with some blue tape or a towel around it in order to pry that out. We'll just take our taillight, we're going to disconnect it from our vehicle. Just push the little tab and pull back on the plug. Just like that. We'll set our taillight to the side. Now what we need to do is we need to get the part of our T-connector that has the yellow and the brown wire. We need to run it inside of this pillar here and come out of that grommet that our wirings hang out of. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a trim panel tool, slide it behind this, pop that piece out, and then right back here we can see that we should have access to that grommet. We can pop it out and start running our wire. You'll just want to cut a small slit in this rubber. We've got some RTV silicone that our kit came with to seal that up. We'll take these 2, run them out, and we can get this grommet back in place. There we go. Now we'll take our connector. You'll notice that 2 of them will look identical. Take the 2 that look different. Get them connected. There we go. Wait till you hear that click. And then this wire is just going to hang out behind our taillight here. So we can take that black silicone and seal up this crack here. Now the next thing we need to do is get that same T-harness, but the green one. We need to get it from our driver's side over to our passenger side taillight. What I found is that if you remove this square panel on the bottom of our frame under here, it's a straight shot up into this area behind our taillight on the driver's side. So we've got a panel like this on the driver's side and the passenger side. We'll take both out, and I'm just going to drop this wire down through this opening and then reach up, grab it, and pull it down. There we go. We'll pull all of our slack out, and I will not be surprised if we end up having to extend this. Yep, we are going to have to extend it. So what we'll do is we'll just cut this here in the middle somewhere. We'll splice in another good chunk of green wire so that way we have enough room to run it down, over, and up behind our passenger side taillight. Now we've got our green wire run over to our passenger side. We'll just pull it out like we did on our driver's side. We got that same slit cut in our grommet. We can make our connection to our factory plug. There we go, that clicked in. We'll pull the remainder back through there and get that grommet put back in place. Now what we're going to do is we'll take our 4-pole and we're going to run it down through that same hole, out through the bottom of the frame rail. That is because we are installing a 7-pole. That's our end goal for this van. So we need it to be outside. If you want to keep it inside and just run it out of the vehicle like this, that's very, very common. But with as easy as this is to get it outside, I would run it out. Now we're going to take our ground wire and I'm going to ground it on this panel, but on the inside of this cubby hole. And I'm going to come out right next to that grommet because we'll know that it'll fit behind the taillight then. Make sure it's secure. Now we'll take our box. Our box needs to be mounted somewhere in here. In a safe place. I think what I'm going to do is I'll take the sticky tape that comes with our kit and I'm going to stick it right to this inside wall. Now we've got our double-sided tape on the back of our control module. We've got our spot cleaned off with some rubbing alcohol. We're going to slide this in here and stick it to the wall. Now we're going to take a heat shrink butt connector, get it connected to our black wire that comes with our kit, connect that longer black wire to the short one on our control module, and then we're going to fish down the wire through here, down underneath our vehicle, and then I'm going to run it up to where we're going to connect it to our power source, and then I'll come back and show you the route that I took to get there. So we ran our black wire out here, ran it up, and you just want to find some good places to tie it off, or if you have a little loop like this, you can run it through. But you just want to zip tie it off to existing wiring or the frame itself. You want to stay away from anything hot or moving, so stay away from your axle. We'll tie it up here. And then we just pretty much followed our existing wiring all the way up to the front, to which we then ran it up here and up into the engine bay. Now that we've got our wire pulled up into our engine bay, I always like to throw one last zip tie on it inside the engine bay so that it doesn't drop back down. But we're going to take our fuse holder, making sure that our fuse is not in it. We're going to take it, strip back one end, take a heat shrink butt connector, slide it in place, crimp it on. Now we're going to do the same thing to our black wire. Give it a twist. Slide it in the butt connector. Crimp it down. We're going to strip back the other end. This side you want to strip back a little bit more because we're going to have to twist it and then put our ring terminal on. Now we'll take a 13mm socket, remove this nut from our access point. Now this is just a spot on the vehicle where you can use to jump the vehicle, but it's still going to be a positive connection. The battery in these Transits are underneath the driver's seat and they're really hard to get to, so we're just going to use this instead of going directly to the battery. Take our connector here. I'm just going to put a bend in it so that it fits down inside this little pocket. We'll take our nut and put it back on. Now we can take our fuse and insert it in our fuse holder. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to replace our taillights, and then we can test out our wiring. We'll start with our left turn, our right turn, brake lights, and our running lights. Now that we know our wiring's working properly, that's going to do it for a look at and installation of the Curt 4-pole trailer wiring harness on our 2022 Ford Transit T250.